Okay, you've learned how to use Vassal. Now let's learn how to use Vassal files. So we've got a game here. We've made some moves. We're ready to save it and send it to an opponent. So under the File menu, we pick Save Game As. If you pick Save Game, you just save the game as whatever you are currently using. The last file you loaded, the last file you saved. So we pick Save Game As. That brings up a default name, which I am going to use. I like to name my files after the game and the two players who are playing it, but I like to specify the .vsav extension just to make sure that the file is saved with the proper characteristics. So I'll click Save. Now if I pick Save, it'll just save into that file and so forth. All right, let's go out and take a look. Out to our Vassal folder, out to the Games folder, and there is our file, and it's got the right icon, so we know it's properly being used. Make sure, especially the first time you save a game, that you're saving into the correct file. Select the desktop and go into your file folder. And once you're saving in the right place, Vassal remembers the game folder you prefer to use and the module folder you prefer to use. So it will find those automatically for you in the future. But the first time you have to navigate. All right, now let's suppose we just loaded this game up. And here we are. We're ready to see some more moves. But we want to use, instead of sending game files, and that's what I do, is I just send the whole game file, but we want to use the continuation files. So I'm going to start a log file to capture my moves from this point. Now, when I send moves to an opponent, I like to name the file just after the opponent and save that file. Now it's begin the continuation. So now we can move some ships. Let's move a bunch of cruisers down to here. Let's select 4 LBA, move them down here. Now this is not the proper sequence of moves, but let's just go ahead and send a bunch of pieces out so that it's we can see where we're headed. Okay, let's send some fast carriers down to harass the Americans. Notice, by the way, I deselected that stack by clicking somewhere else. And I'm going to do that again here. That way, when I pick the whole stack, it'll pick the stack, it'll move the whole stack instead of just the selected piece that's on the top. You want to make sure that you select the right things. All right, so now I've moved a bunch of pieces. I'm ready to send to my opponent. So I go up here and I click End Log File to end my moves. Now, let's go back out and take a look at the folder. Go back under Games. There's our log file. Now I send that off to my opponent, and he takes the game that he had saved and he applies that to it. Let's do the same thing here. I'm going to close without saving. So I'm going to then load up the file that we saved before we made those moves, which should be what my opponent has. Then I'm going to load a continuation file. So I load the log, double click, or I can click open. Now you'll notice this button, the play button, is active. So I can click play, and as I do, it'll step one move at a time through all of the moves that I made. Now I can click the undo arrow. if I want to take a move back and see that again. So, but now I'll click through all the moves. And finally, we reach the end of the log file. Now, at this point, we would normally say yes. That ends the current log file and starts a brand new one that we will send back to our opponent so that their file can play out the next set of moves we make. I'm not going to make another set of moves, so I'm going to say no. But either way, this is a time when you save the game to update the game to this point, which is the end of the log file and the start of new actions. So there is your methodology of handling files. Now, I will just tell you, I like to save games in a couple of different ways. So different people have different naming conventions, but I like to save it with both players' names when I'm sending a move to an opponent. When they send me a move back, I like to save that file with just their name. And that way, I have both the last file they sent me and the file I sent them last. And that's usually enough to sort out any issues, any questions. But some people like to save one per phase. That's up to you. You make that choice as you go along, whatever suits you best and manages your games best for you. All right, good luck with Vassal.